My name is Scott Duvall, and my company is Jawavi Films.
Hello, and welcome to Little Decisions Interviews. I'm your host, Victoria Cooper. I have something special for you today. I recently recorded at Pittard Park with Jawavi Films owner Scott Duvall. Scott is a fellow podcaster as well. He is one of 3 hosts of the podcast Waitin Since Last Saturday, a fun Georgia football podcast. I invited Scott to sit down and tell us about his 3-part YouTube series about Winterville. I discovered Scott's masterfully crafted videos early on in my own podcasting adventures. According to the Jawavi Films YouTube channel, Scott is a creative director, video editor, photographer, and podcaster based out of Athens, Georgia, who makes videos and takes photos for individuals and businesses that need videos and photos. Have a listen to my delightfully kind interview with super creative Scott Duvall of Watkinsville. Oh, one more thing. Before we get to the interview, a quick suggestion. Go ahead and hit pause on your podcast player right now. Pop over to YouTube to the Jawavi Films YouTube channel. That's Jawavi Films. And watch the 3 Winterville videos real quick. Less than 20 minutes total to watch all of them. The conversation will have much more context if you do. Thanks, and now back to the interview. Hi.
Victoria?
Yeah, are you Scott?
I am.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah, I like this park. I've been here quite often.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've done for like the Marigold Market, I've done some filming here.
You have done filming here for the market. Okay, cool.
I was doing actually it's funny, I'm wearing the shirt, I was doing a video for Sustainability UGA. And we were getting some shots out here back in May.
Okay, yeah. So I might have been here. So yeah.
Dodd was playing over there.
Oh yeah, so I missed that one. That was one of the first ones, I think. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yes, and when I was riding in, my buddy, who's in my wedding, I mean, I've been friends with him forever. He's in that white truck doing some construction. He owns a construction company. He's from Winterville, so
yeah.
I mean, Winterville's kind of a place. I had to watch those videos again just to make some notes on it because I'd forgotten, because I've done so many things.
Well, and it's been 3 years, I think.
First was in January 18, then May of 18, then October of 19. The third one was in October of 19. So I had to go look back to see when we had put those together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been producing a podcast since 2015.
Yeah.
So it's podcast is kind of a thing that I'm into. So.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your podcast.
It's called Waitin Since Last Saturday. And it's a Georgia football podcast that 2 buddies of mine and we've done since 2015, and we just recorded episode 270.
That's crazy.
And we do pre-game, post-game, and then a couple shows when football season's not going on. So we, it's just 3 dudes that, back, 7 years ago, we're like, hey, we should do a podcast. And I was like, I know how to produce them, so I produced the show and, do all the social media for it.
Podcasting is a little bit addictive, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, like I said, sticking with it. I think the secret is just kind of continually to do it, and because there's stats that, and I don't know them exactly, but where there's say 1 million podcasts put out, and only 38,000 are active still. Because people just drop off because it's a pain, and
and you got to keep doing it.
You got to keep doing it, and if you get to the numbers and realize that maybe not as many people are listening as you'd like, you get discouraged, and it's easy to happen. It's like with any social media.
Yeah, that's why I don't pay attention to my numbers right now.
That's good.
Like they'll send me like little things. Like I just got. Oh, this was like 6 weeks in. I got something saying I had 150 downloads, and I was like, okay, I'm going to celebrate for a second, but I'm just going to ignore that because I don't know what that means. So because I know it takes a while to build a following.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, but then I'm also at the Marigold Market talking to people, and that has gotten me a bunch of interviews.
Right.
And I'm just like, it's really fun because I'm just talking to people about kindness. Just because I'm curious what people think about kindness.
Yeah.
It's not like a thing you naturally like think about in any given day, like, oh, I'm going to be kind today. But like, it's a thing I think we all aspire to daily. So I like it in that sense, in that I think it can be very unifying if people just recognize it more.
I agree. You know, I mean, it's not active anymore, but I started in 2015 podcasting, where I quit a corporate job. I was a device rep.
Oh, wow.
You know, going in and out of hospitals, and I had always been filming and been creative, and my wife had a blog, and you know, had saved up money, and I just got tired of dealing with pricing at the hospitals and dealing with cases, and you know, going into that. So finally, I told my distributor boss that I was quitting, and I didn't tell it. He was like, "What are you going to do?" I was like, "Well, you know, I've got some other plans." I didn't want to say I was going to go into creative work because you know, I just didn't want the feedback, and I didn't really know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But you know, I started a podcast because my dad sent me one from Gimlet Media, which is kind of, in my opinion, one of the best podcasting networks out there. They do startup podcasts. They do every little thing. They do Reply All. The guy's name is Alex Bloomberg. He was kind of my mentor, even though he didn't know it. So he did a narrative style podcast, and to what you're speaking about, I started a podcast, I think did about 10 or 12 episodes with my wife.
Yeah.
And it was all narrative based. So I would record the cranking of the car. I would record the footsteps and then build in the story and everything. And I was really proud of those episodes. They took me hours and hours and hours to produce.
Forever.
But it was a great learning experience because I figured it out on my own. And there's really no other better way in the creative world to learn something, whether it's photography or videography or podcasting, which are all three things that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm self-taught on every single one of them.
Nice.
And not to say I'm the best, I've still got a huge learning curve in front of me. But it's so satisfying when I can make a video or have a viral photo or make a great podcast episode that gets 5,000 downloads by people.
Yeah.
And then to kind of sit back and say, that's awesome. And then the key thing is not to rest on your laurels or your success. If you get some accolades from it, is just to create something else.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that. So our stories are very similar. So I was working at UGA for about 15 years, working with students, and I loved the work intrinsically, but I hated the work like systematically.
Right.
Like I just hated it. I'm not a 9 to 5 person.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah. No.
No, but I'm actually a 9 to midnight person because when you work for yourself,
yes, you do.
You work way more. That's right.
I know, it's hilarious, but I enjoy the work more, so I don't mind.
Right.
Yeah. No, I have realized that. So I quit my job at UGA, and I ended up being a substance abuse counselor for a year, which I loved. I had lost my mom at the time to addiction, and I was feeling called, and I found a place that would let me serve, and so I did it for a year, and I loved it. But it like killed me inside. I don't have healthy boundaries with that. So, and I know that now. So I quit that, and I quit knowing I wanted to do something creative, but I had a similar thing. I didn't know what yet. And then I just kind of, I knew I loved podcasts, and I knew that was a great way to, I think, create for me the image I wanted to start building. And so I figured, okay, I'll start there. Because like for me, I think podcasting is just the beginning. Like it's, you know, like I think we're just at different spots in our dreams. You know, like I'm at the very beginning where it's like, okay, I start with this, and then I'll build on. So, because it's super exciting.
Podcasting for whether, you know, because the one that we record, Waitin Since Last Saturday, with my two co-hosts, Will Leitch and Tony Waller. Wow, I say that. It's so regimented. I say that in the intro every time, so I kind of went back to that.
You did.
But, you know, it's more news-based because we will be previewing the Georgia-Clemson game. Yeah. Nobody's going to listen to that episode, or only crazy people would listen to that episode 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Because it's not relevant.
Yeah.
But the other side of podcasting is to create, you know, evergreen content.
Yes.
And so that's, we have a little bit of that when we do interviews with certain people or celebrities, and those tend to stay a little bit more green.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just exciting because it's an easy way to kind of get your ideas and opinions out there. The easy part is recording it and putting it out there. But then if you want to try to attract new audiences, that's the hard part of the marketing or the /sales part of selling someone to listen to an episode.
Yeah, and that's hard. Yeah, so I've just started reading some story branding books.
The Donald Miller?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I have his book. It's
yes,
good.
I love that book. So I have highlighted probably half the book already.
I've read that twice, and I'm not a reader.
Yeah,
I am not a reader.
Yeah.
But I did get his book because I looked at how thick it was, and I saw it was pretty thin.
Yeah.
And it's just very bite-sized, very consumable, and easy to implement type advice.
Yeah. No, and he's got the seven storyboard. I mean, and I'm like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I can do that. All right.
Let someone else be the hero in your story.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't let yourself be the hero. Like me, my. You need to be the guide.
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan to
or the
Skywalker.
Sherpa.
Right, the Sherpa. Right.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the Star Wars reference better. Oh, I got to make sure I have you say your name and the name of your company.
My name is Scott Duvall, and my company is Jawavi Films. And there's a caveat to that because that's confusing. How do you spell it? What does that mean? Well, it's spelled Jawavi Films, and I have 3 kids, Jack, Walker, and Vivian. I took the first 2 letters of their names and made an acronym by it, so I love that. And even and this makes great podcasting. I'm going to show you a visual.
Yeah.
But even my business card kind of has, 3 little faces on there, kind of hand-drawn. And I made that back in 2015. My wife doesn't like the logo anymore, and I don't really either, but it's now vintage, and I'm not going to change it. I don't even remember how I made it.
It's like, and it's almost chalkboard style.
It's almost chalkboard clip art type stuff, but I'm just going to stick with it.
I love it. I give mine away with stickers.
Nice.
Because I'm kind, so I give a gift. But I've got mine in like this little package, and I give it to people when I talk to them.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you. I'll give you my podcast business card, too, with the QR code.
That is genius.
Yeah, that way they can scan or take a picture and immediately be taken to it.
Thank you. So where does it take them to? Like to
it takes them
website?
to Apple.
Okay,
because
I was going to ask.
One thing I've noticed, with years and years of, statistics, downloads and stuff, I think about 80 to 85% of our downloads are via Apple iPhone. And granted, it's a terrible player. It's not very intuitive. It's a pain. But, it's just, I use the Apple Podcast app.
That's
There's other ones out there that are better and more robust, and you can speed it up and slow it down better. But, I got to download it. I got to register, sign up. So, I have the QR code that just goes to Apple because I figure if someone's on Android or they have a Google Pixel or they're going to listen on their desktop, if they want to listen, they'll find a way. They already know how. So that's just the easiest way.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to totally use that now.
You should.
Yeah. I'm going to. That's why whenever I see something good, I'm like, let me ask you lots of questions about how you got there.
Right.
My podcast also has a retro theme to it.
I noticed that.
Yeah, and so because of that, the stuff I sell at the market is retro themed. So like I sell Lisa Frank notebooks, and I sell old school Trapper Keepers.
Oh, nice.
And things like that stuff. But I have like Pound Puppies, from like the 80s. But it's like the new version that came out. But I'm trying something different because I figure since my podcast is based in Winterville and Athens, by having a presence in Winterville, I'll catch more people. And then I'm hoping for season 2, which will be next market season, I'll go to the Athens market, and see what happens there.
Right. A lot of people don't realize, with Athens, Clarke County being it's only the second unified city in the state. The other is Columbus, Muskogee County. But a lot of people don't realize that Winterville is the only other city in Clarke County. Yeah. Clarke County is the smallest by land in the state of Georgia.
I didn't know that.
And I found out these things basically by doing videos here in Winterville. But that's good that you kind of combine Athens and Winterville, because that's one thing Dodd likes to kind of tout is that, hey, Winterville's part of Athens. Don't forget about us. We're the throwback. We're kind of the still. It's like Mayberry over here. Yeah. And it's a nice, but yet it's only an 8 to 10 minute drive from downtown, and now you got the Firefly Trail that'll connect it.
Yeah, which is amazing. I love that trail. So I like that a lot. Well, and what's funny is I had decided on the retro theme of my podcast before I knew enough about Winterville to realize that they also embrace nostalgia like that.
Absolutely.
Which then made me feel, it was like so serendipitous. I was like, oh my gosh, this works out. My podcast episodes are kind of variety show style. So I have different elements to it to kind of catch people's interest on different levels. Like I just talked about the Firefly Trail and how it's actually named also from in the 1800s.
The train?
Yeah, the train. I didn't know that.
The embers coming from the train?
Yeah, I didn't know that until I found out from a conversation here at the market. And I was like, oh, that's great podcast material. Thank you.
Right.
So that's the other nice part is material comes to me here. And I love that because then I have to take what I have, like here's what I wanted to do, here's what I have, and then here's what I end up making. So it ends up being this really fun project.
Right.
And I do all of that between Saturday and Wednesday. So then it's almost like a time crunch. Like, okay, I've got 4 days to make this episode. What's it going to be?
I can see that. And on a side note, if you're ever recording a podcast outside or filming, like I do quite often, there's always a leaf blower or a mower somewhere nearby. It's guaranteed to happen. I could be on campus filming and some aggressive leaf blower is nearby and everything. It's just part of doing outdoor recording. So that's for the listeners hearing the mower or the leaf blower out here. I just went back and watched the videos that I made. I saw them a lot when I was editing them, but I wanted to just kind of freshen up on the meaning behind some things or little nuances to how it all came about, because it's really a 3-part video series that was never really planned to be a 3-part video series. It just used the word serendipitous. I love that word. I use that I have that in the back of my mind on just about every video shoot that I have, because you can plan for so much, but then you just kind of got to let things happen and hope for the best. And if you have good intentions and you're prepared and you're asking good questions or you're getting good B-roll, a lot of times those serendipitous moments happen. Sometimes you don't even notice until you're in the edit and you have that clip and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to work out so well. But with these videos I did, kind of featuring Dodd Farrell, the mayor of Winterville, he was able to provide a lot of those because he's such a good speaker. He's so thoughtful. He's so intent on his meaning behind how Winterville's a throwback and wanting to really boost Winterville up and do all things good in kind for the city. So that really kind of happened multiple times during each shoot. Yeah. And I think I could see that in the way it was done, because it's so well done. Like, well, thank you. I mean, I really like how, because I'm picky about my stuff that I watch. Sure, I am too.
Well, I mean, I like when I have music inlaid with it, and like sometimes there's just images and it's like him playing before you actually see him playing.
Oh, sure.
Like, I love those types of transitions.
Start with the first video, which was shot. It was shot in January 2018, and it's funny because whenever I look through the clips, there's snow on the ground because it had snowed about 2 or 3 days prior. It was very cold, and the first video is titled Winterville, Georgia, an independent historic little train town, and I was hired to do a video for the real estate people that were doing Winterville Station. Okay. It was just being built, the builder, and he was like, hey, you should go talk to the mayor, Dodd. I'm friends with him. Maybe he'll say a couple things. Well, it went from me just knocking on his door to saying, hey, I'd love to get some footage of you, maybe ask you some questions, to welcoming me in, pulling out his guitar, playing, talking, and then like 2 hours later, I'm chasing him around all of Winterville. He's like, the Firefly is going over here. We've got these historic buildings here. Let me introduce you to this person. Let's go look at the pump track way down here where you can ride BMXs. I was just floored by his kindness and just openness to talk about Winterville. And you mentioned the music. He started playing Rain Coming Over the Mountain acoustically, and luckily I was recording, and it just dawned on me. I guess through experience of editing and everything, I was like, you know what, I'm going to use this as just a natural track for this video, and that's kind of how what serves throughout is the accompaniment throughout the video. And he talked about how the Winterville was at a crossroads back in 2018, and it was a good time to do a video because as I rolled into town today, the Firefly Trail is basically complete, running right in front of the depot, and I haven't been to the Winterville station, but I'm sure it's developed. There's probably a pool over there in the neighborhood, and so it seems like Winterville's been able to expand like he thought, but still keep its small town charm, and it's definitely still palpable in here.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
my favorite part of that video was towards the end. We were in one of the old buildings. I guess it's next to the auditorium where they have, I guess, the water department and everything. But upstairs, it was it was maybe the building adjacent. Somebody who's listening is yelling at their podcast right now. By the way, that's good podcasting when you kind of get the story right, but you don't, because that engages the listener. Don't ever be afraid to make a mistake in a podcast, because people will correct you by yelling into their phones or their radio.
Yeah.
But I digress. But my favorite part was at the end where he says, "I'm holding hands on one side with history and holding hands on the other side with the future. And we're all walking together at the same pace." And that was a serendipitous moment where we're recording that, and I'm like immediately thinking as an editor, that's how I'm ending this video, because it's such a good ending. And then, like, I didn't even have to tell him to do it. I'm filming him, and he holds his left hand out to personify what, the history is, and then his right hand out to personify the future, and then he walks off screen. And it was like, I was like, dude, are you an actor? Yeah. I mean, it was just so great and emotional and everything, and that was really awesome to get. So that was one of those edits where I was really excited to get down and start putting it together, because I knew how I was going to start it, and I knew how I was going to end it, and he had so many good pieces of information in between. It just really flowed together.
Well, and he almost, I really noticed, because was it that video that has the picture of the auditorium? No, that's a different.
The auditorium's featured in all three.
I thought so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But where he has that picture of it, that he took that first day.
Yes, I took that picture of him. That's kind of the thumbnail of it, where he's just kind of sitting there. The sunlight was perfect. And I took that photo of him just kind of sitting in the front row of the not yet renovated auditorium. And so that's why it was also a crossroads, because I didn't know it yet, but they were about to get a grant from the Fox Theater Institute to renovate the auditorium, and that actually leads into the second video. After we published the January 2018 video, the independent historic little train town, he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we got a grant from the Fox Theater Institute, and I'd like to make another video." Basically because he was going to play. Yeah. And he said he had a dream band. And I was like, okay, all right, that sounds good. I know you're a musician. I know you can play. And so that's when I started going through his albums and his past music that he had made. And, with Rain Come Over the Mountain, my kids loved that song. Yeah. Sucker Punch Town. And what's the other song? Life's a Dream. Mm-hmm. Those were three of the ones that stood out. And so the Winterville auditorium video that was made in 2018 basically is a celebration of the dedication of the grant, and the fact they put new air conditioners on the auditorium, and it was starting to get a makeover. One that was desperately needed, to where it wasn't just dilapidated anymore. And he gave a lot of history when he was speaking about how it burned down, and it was, the bricks were reclaimed and put in hand by hand from some of the Wintervillians that lived here. But, how I mentioned in the one that we did in January, how he had such a good line, he also had a good line in this one, and it's the words that pop up right at the beginning, where when he was dedicating or kind of giving his words and presenting to the crowd after he played in the band, in the video, he says, "The spirit of this building is community. Whenever you have your doubts about America, come here." And I mean, think about that. That's May of 2018. That's right when the 2020 presidential cycle was starting up, and people on both sides are on social media are going at each other in the news media, and everybody's going in their corners. Mm-hmm. And, when you hear something like that coming from a small town mayor in Georgia, mm-hmm. I'll still say, I've said probably multiple times, not only to my family, but to anybody who listen, I would love every politician to be just the embodiment of Dodd Farrell. Yeah. I think that everybody would be much better off, just with the best intentions, mm-hmm. Trying to unify, not divide people. Mm-hmm. So, I really love this video because it really embodies what that's about. But the best part of the video, to me, was the Tuesday night before he had the concert was on a Friday, and the Tuesday night he invited me to come over for sound check. And it was him and his fiddle player Adam Pullen and John Keane, who is, if you don't know, is one of the most well-known producers in music in the past 30 years. David Barbie, who also is into music. He owns Transduction Studios. Hope I got that name right. I don't think I did, but I know Transduction is in it. Dodd, and then, of course, Bill Berry of REM.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've been a fan of REM since I was in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, growing up in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And when Dodd told me that Bill was playing drums, I had to check myself a little bit and say, all right, don't get too weird around him. And Bill was great. John, David, Adam, they were all great, welcoming, true consummate professionals, of course.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I got like a private concert right there on Tuesday, but got a lot of B-roll that really make the video.
Yeah.
A lot of sound, even some photos from it. One of the things that makes me laugh every time I think of that Tuesday night was, of course, after I was there for like an hour and a half and they were done packing up, I'd taken some photos, and I was kind of going through my photos, and there were some really good ones, and I was going to edit them later, but I told Bill, I was like, hey, Bill, I got some really cool photos of you playing drums here. If you want, I can send you some. And he kind of laughed, and with a smile, like thanks, but no thanks. Like,
yeah.
I got a lot of photos of me playing the drums, and it was almost like, buddy, I appreciate it. That's great. I don't think I need any photos. Yeah. So I was kind of like, yeah, you're probably right on that. But it was such a great moment. The second video was so much fun. REM's Facebook page shared it.
Oh, wow.
Which got a whole bunch of views on it.
Yeah.
And it's just a really humbling experience when you put some piece of like visual art together that just works. And Dodd, again, carried the story. He told the story, and it has a definite beginning, middle, and end, and I love that.
Yeah, it really does. Well, and that's why as soon as I saw them, I was like, I have to find the person that made these. I was like, because they really do. They each one tells their own story, but they match each other. So I didn't realize that they were made that far apart.
Right, and I'm glad you brought up the matching part, because after that first one with him playing acoustically, Rain Coming Over the Mountain, the second one starts almost like you would be watching a Netflix show where the second episode kind of harkens back to the first episode. Well, that's how the second video started, and the way I chose to edit it, where it starts again when I shot him in January, strumming to Rain Coming Over the Mountain in his office, and then I faded in the electric version of him on stage, hitting the chorus, and just the electric guitar coming in with the drums and jamming out, and that was really cool to kind of bring that together. And it's almost like a cross dissolved in real life, of it being able to do that. So I was really pleased with how that came together.
Yeah, I really like that part. Yeah, that's really
and it
good.
wasn't planned. And that's the thing. It goes back to those moments when you're filming, when you're a videographer or filmmaker, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever. I kind of go back and forth between those two terms. But yeah, you just have to hope for the best on some of this stuff. And when you have past footage and enough good footage, and sometimes it actually works out that way. So I was super excited when I realized I was going to be able to make that connection.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I get that way too. I'll be like in the middle of an interview and someone will say something and I'm like, oh, that's going to be in this part. Oh my gosh. And then I'm like, no, focus. You have to focus. You're still in the moment here.
Right.
But yeah, when you do both the interview and the editing, or you do just both your filming in the moment, I love when those moments happen. Yeah. They're my favorite.
Yeah, you got to be prepared for everything, and but you also can't worry about certain things as well. You can't let things that, if your shot is blocked or anything like that, which I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to Jay Rogers, who produced that concert. He is a producer. He has a studio in Winterville, in Watkinsville.
Okay.
I think it's Full Moon Studios. I could be wrong. Gosh, I should have written that
I'll
down.
look it up.
I feel bad.
I'll look it up.
But yeah. But anyway, he did such an amazing job of getting the sound because all I had was just onboard microphones, and I did have a little field recorder like you have, and I placed that near the stage. But I was really worried that audio was going to be really poor and echoey because of all that. But what he did is he saved the day. He was like, because I talked to him beforehand of my concerns, and so he had the master recording and then mixed the tracks with my field recorder to kind of give that, I guess, performance sound and everything. And so then sent me the audio files, and so what I did was I just matched it up with the visuals, which is something when you make videos and everything, you have to match or synchronize the audio quite often. So yeah, Jay saved the day on that video because it would not have had the same impact if he hadn't been able to mix the sound on it. So Jay, if you listen to this episode, I'm sorry for messing up the name of your studio, but I greatly appreciate it, even 3 years later, that you're able to mix that sound.
Awesome. All right, so what about the third one?
The third video took place really almost a year and a half later. Dodd and I got together. He reached out to me probably in the spring of 2019, and it was just kind of a fingernail sketch of what was going to happen. But the Fox Theater had another grant for the Winterville Auditorium, and he had the idea, and of course we've sung Dodd's praises already, but you can't say enough about him. But he had the vision of really what he wanted this video to be about, kind of the final chapter in this story. And things happen in threes, so it made sense to me. I was like, okay, we met at Little City Diner for lunch and kind of hashed out kind of the details about it, but really he wanted it to be a video about where music, art, and public service intersected, and being the town of Winterville. And it basically was the fact that he grew up loving music, but yet wanted to serve the public and be in public service, and that he had lost that hope, I guess, for being a musician and not knowing how to combine those things. But it really was when he became mayor that he realized that music and public service do intersect, at least through him. And he's like a conduit of it, and that's what again makes him so unique about it. But one of the parts in that video, when I was doing the interview portion, he talked about how the sirens, he lives near the fire station, and he talked about how the responsibility after he became mayor felt different when he heard the sirens versus before he was mayor, because he's in charge. He has responsibility to even be like the comforting figure of this town if need be. So that was really cool. Again, the way this video is put together, it starts with a throwback to the previous video, the second video, where he ended the concert with "Life's a Dream," a beautiful acoustic number that he's put together, and so he opened it acoustically on his porch, and I think it showed a lot of vulnerability in him. He actually, I think, choked up in this video. If you watch it closely, he gets very emotional about when he's trying to figure out how to combine music and public service. But the inciting action of the video was when he mentions how the Fox Theater was giving the town of Winterville another grant for the Winterville Auditorium, and he not only had never played at the Fox Theater, being a musician who's released albums before, he'd never even been in the Fox Theater. And so I was going to be there. It was September of 2019 for the Fox Theater Institute. I forget what they call it, but it was basically when they were doing the fundraiser for it, and that I was going to be able to capture his moment of walking into the Fox Theater for the first time. And there is some B-roll of him, like almost fist pumping, like as he's walking in front. And the interesting thing about it, I was just down there, took my car down there, and serendipitous moment, told my 13-year-old at the time, who knows a good bit about cameras, and I definitely trusted him. The dog's barking in the background.
Yep.
Hello, dog.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, no, you're good.
But I took my 13-year-old at the time. It's like my my second cameraman, and so we're driving down Peachtree Street, and we see Dodd walking. I was like, Jack, turn the camera on. You got to get that. Make sure it's slow motion, just so I can slow it down. And he got it. It was great. But that was really neat to see his joyous excitement, to be able to go to the Fox Theater, because I'd been in the Fox Theater before. I took it for granted. He didn't. He was so excited to be there. Yeah. And we got a lot of good clips of him playing his set with his dream band, Adam, John, David, Bill, and Dodd on lead vocals. And then there's another funny part in there where he says, where's Winterville at? And you can hear a big roar. And so that was really neat to see that Winterville packed the house and traveled down there with them. And we thought that it was going to be an evening where REM got back together and played, but it was 3/4. It was really cool because after they played, Mike Mills, Bill Berry, Peter Buck all played together, and then Kevin Kinney of Driving and Crying was the lead singer.
Awesome.
So I mean, and I love Driving and Crying. So even though Michael Stipe was not back on vocals, it's still. I mean, I was like hitting my son. I was like, dude, do you realize how important this moment is? The fact that 3/4 of REM is playing REM songs right now. So that was cool. And the Drive-By Truckers finished the set, which was really cool to see. But it's really just a story about not giving up on your dreams, sticking with your dreams, and the fact that he was able to realize that the musician in him can definitely have a part in public service. All 3 videos, sure, I was just a conduit. I had a camera, and I had some microphones, and I had time and availability. But it was really Dodd who put this all together. Just his immense talent, his kindness, his empathy, and his desire to serve the community of Winterville. I mean, I can't think of many public figures that could have done as good of a job as being so authentic as he was on these 3 videos in a span of literally almost 18, 19 months of time. And he's consistent, and you can tell that Winterville is really in his heart and soul, along with music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, he's going to be great to have on the podcast.
Yeah, well, if this doesn't work to get him on, Dodd, come on, you got to join this podcast and do an interview. I don't know what will.
I know, right? For reals. Thank you. Oh, man. I love the way you talk about the videos. Like, do you talk about all of your work like this?
That's a good question, because whether I'm doing a video just like a throwaway video, and I don't know videos are throwaways if I'm going to spend time, but just like even just an Instagram reel or just a YouTube short, which those are things now in social media. Y'all look them up, Instagram reels and YouTube shorts, vertical videos that are under a minute. But there are no throwaways with me. I try to be unique either with the edit or be unique with the story. And I don't make many videos for myself just because I don't have time. I would love to do more personal projects. Yeah. But each video is special because if I'm gonna put it out there and put my name on it, it can't just be half-hearted, because it's my online reputation, so to speak.
Yeah.
So everyone has a meaning at some point for me, and I'm not afraid to watch my old videos either. If I am, they get privated or unlisted. Yeah. There's very few that maybe are super old that I'm like, that's embarrassing. But each one has intent behind it. I shot one yesterday for my wife. My wife's a blogger, has been a makeup blogger for years, and she's a YouTuber and a micro-influencer, if you will. But I do her videos, and they're fun. We did one with a lot of in-camera transitions, and she educates her audience on makeup, but that's awesome. I get to have the creative part in it, and it's great. So it's a long answer, but I love what I do, and I continually just try to, make things that are fun and maybe will put a smile on someone's face or have someone learn something from it. And that's another important thing about videos online these days. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Do you think there's a way we can make social media kinder? I live that. Okay, good. I live kind social. Now, I'm not afraid to take a shot at Auburn football fans on social media. That's fair. At all, because they're Auburn. Auburn always is anyone's. Auburn. What's the thing I put out? Auburn University is never anyone's first choice. It's always a fallback school. Hey, I have a lot of Auburn friends, But they live here in Athens. Hello.
Yeah.
But no, I think social media. I'm big on this. None of my kids have social media. Mm-hmm. They're not. Currently, they're not allowed to. And I even have I have two teenage boys, a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. My daughter's 10. But I think social media is in the need of people like me. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it to just, I don't talk politics. I don't talk COVID-19. Mm-hmm. I don't talk conspiracy theories. I share photographs. I share videos. I'll retweet funny things. I'm not afraid of someone searching through my social media past, so to speak. Yeah. But then, hey, that doesn't mean that somebody can't use social media for good, for calling out politicians or, the state of Georgia if they're doing things incorrectly or anything. There's a place for that, and I consume that information. I will get a lot of my news from Twitter. Yeah. Twitter's basically my favorite social media platform. But as far as kindness is concerned, I just think that the flag that I wave is to be with everybody, giving social media a bad, reputation by, arguing with strangers online. Yeah. I like to carry the banner of like, hey, let's just keep it joyful, because it doesn't mean that I'm not interested. It doesn't mean that I have political opinions or that I don't agree with your political opinion. I'm just not going to do it in a public forum. Yeah. I'm going to choose to be the guy that deflects a little bit and shares things that are important to me, share stories that are important to me, and bring it that way. But one of the guys that I follow, he's a radio host on 960 The Ref here in Athens. He's a morning show guy. His name is Logan Booker. I love his Twitter handle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because he changes the date every day. I don't know what the date is, but it's well over 1,000 days. It's something like, it says 1,000 however many days since I argued with a stranger online. And he changes it every day, and he says that he does that to keep him grounded and realizing that, look, I'm here to tweet or share information newsworthy about Georgia football or sports in general in Athens. And he does that. So that's just I have a real strong opinion for me about that. How someone else wants to do their social media, you're not going to offend me if you want to get political. Yeah. I'm not going to unfollow you if you have a differing opinion than me, whether it's political or with your sports team or whatever. Yeah. That's fine. I'm also not going to argue with you on it. But I don't have any problem with people being who they are online. I'm not looking down my nose at you if you do want to do that. There's plenty of people that I follow that, I'm like, wow, I don't know if I would have tweeted that, but hey, I'm still friends with you. Yeah. So, I can't say that everybody is going to be that way, nor should they, but that's just my personal opinion. One day my kids will get on it, and when they do, they're going to hopefully see that my wife and I take care into our online reputation. Yeah. Well, it almost sounds like you do probably what you do in real life, which is that you don't judge people by their worst mistakes. Absolutely. Yeah. No. And that's a powerful thing to do. Yeah. No, I don't. I have friends that are extremely left. Mm-hmm. I have friends that are extremely right. Mm-hmm. And I can find common ground with both of them. Yeah. And I don't, just because they believe one certain thing. I have friends who are atheists. I have friends who are devout Christians. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the thing. But yet I'm not going to be a microphone for how you should believe or tweet or carry on your life. Yeah. I don't care if you're gay or straight. What religion or race you are. I mean, it's just. That's just how I am, and it's not something. In fact, this is probably the first time ever on a social platform that I've espoused those things. Not that it's anything. I just try to, I think most people are like that. I think so. I don't think that I'm some unicorn out there. No. I think that's the most. It's just you get the fringe on social media from both sides. I think most people are just decent people that want the world to be as peaceful as possible, and our politicians to be as competent and as compassionate as possible, and then just hopefully help your fellow neighbor type thing. Yeah. Well, and that's why I asked the question, because I usually get that type of answer from people. Yeah, and that's what I want to focus on. Right. Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah. Sweet.
Well, good. Well, is there a random act of kindness that either you've witnessed or that you've done that you want the world to know?
Oh my goodness, what a good question that is. A random act of kindness that I've witnessed?
Mm-hmm. Or that you've done. Yeah, it can be either one.
I feel like a hypocrite for not having that right off the top of my head.
No, it's okay. It should take a minute to think about.
Yeah, because, well, that's the thing. Like, going back to social media, when someone takes a picture of their receipt to show that they tipped $800 to their waitress, I'm like,
yeah.
If I did that, I'm not going to share it. I mean, I think it's an act of kindness to get vaccinated.
Yeah, I think
so.
But,
that goes back to the whole thing, like, look, you do you. But yeah, random act of kindness, I'm gonna buck the system here.
Okay.
I don't have one because I think, and it's not to say that I'm someone different or something, but I've paid it forward in the drive-through line before. I've helped people with directions. I've donated to there was a friend of mine whose wife had a rare brain tumor, and they put out online to do a GoFundMe. I sent some money to him. I mean, I don't wear it on my sleeve.
Yeah.
Random acts of kindness, but it makes me feel good when I can do it, and the fact that I can't really single one out, I think is a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just I'm not without sin. I'm not without guilt or bad moments, but I think it's just by being a dad, and having 3 impressionable kids with all the craziness. I call myself an actuary sometimes, with them, like trying to manage them. But they're, even though I've got 2 teenagers, they're small eyes looking up at me, and if I don't lead by example, then I've got some problems. So that's my answer. My random act of kindness is randomly not remembering when I act kindly towards people.
Well, that just means it's natural.
I guess so. And I don't want to come across as some pious, holier-than-thou person, but it's true. I just can't. I mean, sure, I don't want to single out like when I paid for someone's car wash behind me or something like that, because, it's insignificant.
Well, and that's why I asked the question, is because I like to see where kindness fits in with people, so like what part of your life is it? And it sounds to me like it's just a natural, everyday part of your life.
Right.
Which is why you can't remember a single one, because you do it all the time.
I don't do it all the time.
Well,
I can always do better.
Sorry. I meant you do it naturally.
Yeah,
you do it naturally.
I could go months without being a random act of kindness person, but then again, if someone needs something online, I donated a photo. I sell photo prints. I donated a photo print to a charity 2 weeks ago. So there we go.
There you go.
That's my recent random act of kindness.
I like that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Hopefully it was a picture where we're kicking Auburn's butt. Maybe.
It was a picture. It's a picture that I have of Notre Dame warming up in Sanford Stadium, which was an anomaly because Notre Dame and Georgia have only played 3 times, and they've only visited Athens 1 time, and that was September 21st, 2019. And so I got that picture.
Nice.
So yeah.
Good, yeah. Well, I hate Auburn too. Just
Good.
FYI, yeah.
Good.
So my first UGA game I went to, I broke my ankle on the way in, but I stayed the whole game because it was a Georgia game, and that's what you do when you're committed. We lost in the rain by 1 point. They had a Hail Mary throw, and we lost in the rain by 1 point. And at this point, my ankle is the size of a pumpkin.
Oh, no.
And because I've been standing the whole time, because again, committed. Mm-hmm. But at this point, anything that has been anesthetizing the pain is no longer there.
Right.
And then we lose in the rain.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and ever since then, I was like, Auburn, I hate you.
Yeah, fun fact, Georgia's 13-3 in the last 16 meetings versus Auburn.
Nice.
That's what doing a sports podcast will do for you. You can throw off random stats to boost your favorite team anytime you need to.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah,
I'd never been on a podcast before. Even though I've recorded 270 podcast episodes, I'd never been invited to be a guest on someone's podcast.
And that was my interview with Scott. Thank you so much, Scott, for sitting down and talking with me, and thank you for listening. As always, pineapple with care.